So I've been in this role as Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Learning for a year and a half. I couldn't have told you until today when you told me there were 30 plus forms in there that that's in fact how many are in there. We are Pembina Trails School Division. We have 36 schools, 17,000 students in our division, and one of the fastest growing school divisions in the province.
I'm Andy Beedham, the Principal of Learning and Inclusion for Pembina Trails. I support a lot of the student services side of what's happening in the division, and much of how we track the data is done through Clevr.
Pembina Trails is an inclusive school division, which means we have all students in all classrooms, in all schools, and that students are entitled and have a right to go to their catchment area school, so their neighborhood school. And the challenges that come with that is for people to be confident and competent in being able to accommodate students, taking them where they're at, and having staff that can meet their needs. And in order to do that, information needs to be shared and planning needs to be done. And so, as I recall, Susan Schmidt brought Clevr on board in Pembina Trails, and it was the intention to have that documentation available so that any one of those schools, wherever a student went, they would have information and it would be shared, whether that was a transition within the school division from grade level to grade level, or students coming in from another school division that we're collecting that and we have it accurate. And that extended into needing to have some forums that could help us do that work as well in terms of communication, understanding student needs, following processes, not reinventing the wheel with every student in every case that came forward, but being able to pull on some of that history and rich research that people were already using.
It's a very safe way to track your data, and you can always go back and find it easily.
Student services are using these forms. So students with exceptional needs, it's a database for collecting information about their learning profile, their exceptional needs, how those are being met. We have a tech consultant here. Her name is Toctum. She is a master at Clevr and a master at coordinating who has access and who needs access. Security, that's a really important factor. So the forms that are largely used, I would say clinical uses forms in there. And so we have psychologists, social workers, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech and language. They have developed forms in Clevr to track students, again, around that transition from grade level to grade level, school to school.
The province of Manitoba has put in a new sort of directive policy called presence and engagement. And in that, there's some expectations for students to attend on a regular basis. So we've created a student-specific plan around attendance for chronically absent students and severe chronically absent students. That's been used quite a bit this year. Student-specific plans, the variety of them, I would say that's where we spend most of our time in Clevr. The Clevr has actually come up with a Manitoba-based attendance SSP that we are a part of the development of. We like what we see in the Clevr developed one with some feedback that we provided, and other partners around the province have also provided. I like it because it's the path for the professionals to follow, right? If you've got a situation, attendance specifically, what can I do to support this child with attendance? In our Clevr form, it gives a number of different varieties that you can try and which ones you can implement. And it's just a checkbox, right? So it's fairly efficient to use, but it also, all the schools are using similar strategies to support kids, and Clevr sort of helps find how to support kids because it sort of gives ways in the form.
Yeah, and I would add to that that one-stop shop, to be able to go to one place to find what you need on a profile of a student in terms of their academic ability, any assessments that have been done. There are a number of people who can access that and gather information about a student's learning profile. And so that is really, really helpful and efficient. I'm thinking about one situation in particular, which can be fairly intense, and it's around a violent incident threat assessment. When we have a situation in the school, Clevr forms have been created to collect that information for us to be able to go in and look. And so from a superintendent's office, they can go in and have a look at really what is the most current information around that student, what are the recommendations of an assessment that's been done as to where we're headed, what the next steps are, what the plan might be, what are some of the cautions, what are some safety concerns, what other recommendations for outside services might be needed. And so it is about access, right? And confidential information that would have taken or required a full-scale meeting, those $1 million meetings where 10 people are in a room talking about information you can now get. You can get at a glance when you open up that file. It's great, right? I think when people are comfortable with it and they're confident with it, it has huge value. I think when we contribute to a form in the development of it, it becomes intuitive because we're familiar with it. It's a place for forms that we need and we can create. I think that's where it's been highly, highly useful and utilized. Student services use it in a beautiful way. It is fed by our student information system. And so that's been really helpful. So it complements existing technology and databases.
It's a place where all the data is held centrally, right? Whenever we create a form, who has access to read, who has access to edit, who has no access, those sorts of things. Those are questions that we have here. There's really no limits of what it could do. We just have to get creative how to create the form and then who has access to it after it.
Outstanding customer service. I have to say that. Always responsive, always asking great questions, and lots of support. That's been of real value.